As Abdul Kalam said, dream, dream, dream. Dream transforms into thoughts, and thoughts results in action. We should not give up, and we should not allow the problem to defeat us. Shajulin Benedict graduated in 2001 from Manon Manian Sundaran University, India with distinction. In 2004, he received ME degree in Digital Communication and Networks from AKCE, Anna University, Chennai. He is the university's second rank holder for his master's. He did his PhD degree in area of grid scheduling under Anna University, Chennai, ongoing funded projects, and more. His awards and achievements are Melusin Early Access Award for the Tactile Deep Learning Assisted Prediction for Energy Tuning, IIPC. Established MOU with various universities and industries in abroad. Coming to his peer-received international conference, Anshul Zindal, Mohad Chadat, and many more, establishing the capacity of functions as a service function. I now call upon Dr. Shajulin Benedict, ME PhD, Senior Member, Faculty in Charge, R&D and International Affairs, Indian Institute of Information Technology, Kottayam, Kerala, to render the gathering. Welcome, sir.
Good morning to one and all, respected dignitaries and the conference participants. Let me first share the screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 1 minute. Is it visible to you? 1 minute. Is it visible to you, the PPT? No?
No, you please share your screen, sir.
It's visible, sir.
Okay, it's visible. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir,
sorry. Yeah. Right now, as you have mentioned, now I am working in Munich, Germany. Of course, it's a part of a deputation from the Indian Institute of Information Technology, Kottayam. Today, I will be giving a very brief talk about the health monitoring techniques using IoT cloud. Of course, a very brief stuff. In this talk, basically, I would like to show a very interesting aspect of TUM Germany, Technical University Munich, Germany. As most of you would be aspiring to travel abroad or move to leading universities, right? Like to present your work or something. I would like to highlight that Technical University Munich is ranking 38th in world university rankings, and it's even top 10 in according to Times Education rankings. And also the good part is here, like many professors have reached to the level where they got Nobel prizes. And it's a little old university which started, and then yeah, today what I would like to discuss is about IoT trends, then what kind of frameworks are available for healthcare applications, especially this remote healthcare monitoring techniques, which is one of the recent work which we are pursuing in IoT Cloud Research Lab of the Indian Institute of Information Technology, Kottayam. As you all know, Indian Institute of Information Technology, Kottayam is one of the institute of national importance, which comes under the Act of Parliament under this Ministry of Education, but in a PPP mode. So, briefly talking about IoT, I will start with very base of what is IoT, and then move on to this healthcare monitoring and applications related to that, which is one of the key topic which I will be covering today. Right, Internet of Things is definitely a very interesting topic, which where you can find products that you can easily develop, first of all. Secondly, since the products could be developed, the patenting options are also very high. So entrepreneurs as well as startups specifically, right? Like nowadays, many people are very interested to start their own business, and in that aspect, IoT domain will help a lot, because it has the involvement of very tiny devices, which you can easily procure, first of all, and with that the price is also a little less, and you can develop the product with some certain procedures which we could follow. Fundamentally, what this IoT is about an extension of internet, right? So you give internet or provide internet to things, objects, right, that are around you, right? Like, for example, earlier we have offered internet just to computing machines, servers, or mobile phones, right? We haven't realized internet or providing internet to a table, light, fan, and so on, like objects or things that are around us. But in Internet of Things world, we are expecting that the internet should be provided to these devices, right? All extended ones, right? So in this lieu, you can see that trillions of devices or sensors could be connected, right? You can see here, and since there are so many potential possibility for developing products, right? Entrepreneurs are interested in it, right? Business people are interested in it. You can develop products for healthcare or something like that, right? So it provides support for creating a smarter world, smarter society, right? Because you get a lot of knowledge from in and around the devices that are there, right? The devices at home, office, motels, all are getting connected. For example, a person wants to buy something, he doesn't need to recollect much, right? So the things will communicate each other, and it could make decisions by its own. The fridge could talk, saying that the milk is very short now, we need to get milk. And that device will talk to the next device near to the shopping mall, and the mall can communicate directly to the phone, mobile device, which is attached with or kept as a personal device with you. And then it could automatically make decisions, which is what the realization of Internet of Things mean. So it is basically an extension of internet, right? Internet of Things. Obviously, you can see the trends, right? The publications are continually growing in IoT field as well as the patenting, right? So you can see large volume of patents that are filed, and currently the Ministry of Education is also promoting patenting, right? Patenting of all products or solutions that are needed. And you can find a lot of incubation centers around the country which offer this kind of support, right? For example, I would also talk about our incubation centers, 2 incubation centers, which at Indian Institute of Information Technology, Kottayam, which we run for the benefit of the people, like researchers who wants to become an entrepreneur, right? So that kind of promoting ideas are coming up in many of the incubation centers. And talking about Internet of Things investors, because without money, no one is going to work, right? No one will be interested to do something without money. But so you can see here, the market is so high, and it is expected that 1.5 trillion amount will be spent for this Internet of Things. And in which field you can see like smart cities, connected industries, connected building, connected car, smart energy, and so on and so on. And you can see here like healthcare. Healthcare is also one of the important domain where people work. But of course, the money flow is very high in smart city, because the project, if you take any smart city project, it definitely involves some sort of infrastructure which will be slightly high in cost, right? So the global scenario is also that we want to bring a lot of equipments and in the service. So several industries have also made in terms of patents. Why I need to emphasize this is, you can easily develop some products with IoT, right? And I'm just making it a little fundamental and then moving on to the topics of interest. Very simplifically, in generic form, if you see, IoT is a collection of sensors, actuators, as well as networked devices. And obviously, we all could observe that the sensors are going to find some or send some information, whereas actions should be carried out by actuators. And this device it has to of intelligence across data from the sensed device makes sense, right? So here comes the topic of either you right, and how this gen architecture is moving towards, or when we specifically speak for healthcare, what kind of things are there? Right, many, and especially in healthcare world, right? If you see, accessing hospitals drastically reduced, right? Many people started to realize that, oh, we don't want a doctor, right? Because some health problems could be one kind of thing, but at least the young age, they slightly forget about they don't hear to hospital. But not a case with the elderly people or the people who already having some chronic diseases like diabetic or cancer or something. They have to visit hospitals, and COVID restricted many people entering into hospitals or preventing them from entering hospital. And this, due to this direct or indirect impacts, several new innovations happened in the IoT field, especially in healthcare sector. If you see there are several works in this monitoring, architectures, right? You will have network devices like a fog and cloud are there. In that, in here, you will observe that some hospitals, as well as patient, doctors and patients are directly connected, right? So the system which you develop for IoT healthcare applications will certainly evolve hospitals as well as doctors. And the generic one is having a variation here, right? And the intelligence, what you play here is more towards edge. I haven't talked much about the edge, fog plus cloud, but you can understand that cloud will have more computational power, edge will have less computational power, and fog will be in between that. They all are kind of network devices which is going to do some processing, right? User interface plays a major role because a patient sometimes he see some graphical representation of what is happening in his status. Should be responsive, like boards may be needed so that it's like or Siri or some boards automatically respond, not doctors to respond immediately, and the synopsis of what is should be given to the doctors, hospitals, and security becomes one of what right, and these sensors will be very tiny in nature, and because of its low computational capability, because a few could be like battery operated, and because of its low computational capability, not of security in it. So it could try to connect to gateways, associated gateways of networks, and there comes the challenge of security aspects. So that is another part, right? And if you see the sensors and actuators, interestingly, in this healthcare domain, you will observe that there are in-body devices, on-body devices, portable devices, and static devices, ambulatory devices, as well as hospital devices, right? In-body devices are the devices that are attached, are implanted into your the body, like for example, like cardiac defibrillators or insulin pumps, for extreme diabetic patients, it has to be automatically carried out. On-body devices are more popular, like wearable ones. They call wearable, right? So accelerometers, gyrometers, pedometers. These are kind of on-body devices. Portable devices are devices that are typically mobile in nature, which are used for some kind of monitoring. It need not be that it is attached to your body, but it will be a device that can be portable in nature. Static devices are devices that are fixed somewhere in the room or locations where the patient is located. Like some examples, you need some kind of actuator that would perform some alarms or notifications. And you also could observe that ambulatory devices as well as hospital devices will be there. Typically in hospital devices, you can see that some location identification, or the devices, wheelchairs, armchairs or something may be placed somewhere in the hospital, and it has to be identified by these sensors. These are some unique features of an IoT system, right? If you generically say IoT is just having sensors, actuators, and network devices, but it could be applied for several applications. Today, the talk was more orienting towards the remote monitoring part. Some of the good sensors that are already available in the market for healthcare monitoring, especially for remote healthcare monitoring, are typically like glucose monitors, temperature, oxygen pulse, then anomaly detection sensors, motion movement, right? So that kind of sensors, stress indicators, and so on. Talking about network devices, now people mostly focus on edge because there are few reasons to go forward with edge devices. One is you get reduced network bandwidth. Second, improved response time if you go for edge So when I say edge, edge is a computational device which is staying very near to the sensor. So right, the edge will be something very near to the sensor, whereas the data goes to the cloud, right? And earlier they were just sending the data to the cloud, so you can see the computation that is happening in network device like a cloud device will be very, very I mean, computationally they are good, but latency is not good, right? And privacy is also not good. For example, a patient's emotion should be detected, right? So a camera which is kept should send the data to the cloud means it's a little far away. First of all, it consumes more network bandwidth. Also, the data will be hosted on cloud, the third-party infrastructure. But rather, if you keep it in edge could be like an example would be like your mobile device, right? It's a personal device, right? So your camera, your video, and your face is just answerable within the edge device itself. So you can improve your privacy as well as security. Certainly, there is a good execution model called serverless execution model in cloud. Okay, this is one which you definitely want to look into. I have highlighted about the serverless in one of the previous video. Certainly, this serverless execution model for healthcare applications will definitely reduce the cost involved for cloud instances, right? What the serverless execution model mean is, for example, if you have created an IoT application, a healthcare or remote healthcare monitoring application, using all these network devices, including edge, fog, and cloud, and so on. If the analytics are performed in cloud for once in a week or so on, right? If you don't use serverless, what would happen is the cloud instance, right? Like for example, if you are using Amazon, the EC2 instance what you have used, you will have to pay the throughout the application period, right? So your service will be running 24/7 throughout the year, and you will have to pay for the entire year this cost of EC2 instance or the server instance. But if your execution model is created as serverless execution model, you don't want to pay the entire cost of for the entire year, but you have to just pay for the time when you execute them, right? For the time that your data is available, right? So the patient monitoring is happening probably like once in a week or once in a month. Like they want to check the pressure, humidity of the environment, and so on. And this should be updated to the cloud, for example, once in a week, which will be like 5 minutes or say less than 2 minutes, right? In the cloud. So instead of paying just 2 minutes per week an application, you might end up with paying for the entire period of executing the application, which is not good, right? So serverless execution model for health application will definitely be a good opportunity. There are a few techniques basically for imparting this healthcare applications, right? Remote monitoring healthcare applications. So it will be classified basically based on the utilization of different systems. So do you prefer edge or fog or cloud, or do you prefer a computing systems, placing where the resource, right? Which or how optimally can you use those resources, because edge is very scarce, cloud is available, um, do you prefer? If you use cloud, latency will be high. Privacy you have to sacrifice. If you use edge, but you have limited computational capability, which one do you prefer, right? So depending on utilization of different computing systems, the remote healthcare monitoring techniques are differing, okay? Second, based on importance to serve task, like some healthcare tasks are not of much importance. For example, measuring the glucose level of a mid-age person, typically like a routine check of, once in a month or so on, is not so critical than measuring the glucose level of a bedridden chronic diabetic patient, right? So when an IoT healthcare application is designed, depending on the priority of the task, right? Depending on what kind of task do you provide, whether it is critical, should it be periodically done, or whether the task will be something like a preventive one, right? It is not going to happen, but but to proactively you are going to see something or forecast something is going to happen and prevent them. So depending on that, depending on the priorities of the task, you could classify or design the healthcare applications based on what kind of communications involved between the sensors. The healthcare monitoring techniques differ based on accessibility features. The techniques are differing. Like for example, are you accessing the entire device, or all sensor device, or limited sensor devices? Based on level of intelligence, like is it going to be preventive, or predictive, or descriptive, right? Depending on the level of intelligence, the monitoring differs. Based on focused delivery, like delivery of or attentive of healthcare systems, like for example, are you attending some emergency things, like whether your IoT application is designed for emergency purposes, or whether it is focusing on some elderly people, like there were some wearable devices, you can provide it to some elderly people who are attempting to fall down, right? So fall detection. So when there is a particular level of tilt in that human person who is walking, typically elderly person, right? Immediately the airbag will open. So are they focused one? Are they focused for disability oriented people? Right. There are several developments relating to wheelchairs and so on, right? And based on the emotions of the patients, you can design that devices, right? So all these are talking about remote healthcare monitoring techniques. A more detailed information could be observed in one of my paper, which got recently accepted. So when we say the edge, how can we implement them, right? You can use TensorFlow Lite for performing intelligence, right? Which could be processed, or this particular TensorFlow Lite is a mini version of TensorFlow, where you cannot perform the intelligence in edge devices. I have already told the edge devices are typically battery operated, and they have very little computational power than cloud, right? So cloud is more powerful. If you are collecting all patient data, and if you are trying to process them in the edge device, that is not a good approach, right? So something we have to do here, and many things we have to do in the cloud so that it becomes scalable one. Especially intelligence, right? Performing some intelligence or writing some models, models and so on. It is better to do in cloud. Many of you would be aware of TensorFlow, a Google product, right? And this is, you can do it in cloud, but no, you cannot probably write the entire learning model in edge device. Like, what are edge devices? Edge devices are like microcontrollers, or some small microprocessors like Raspberry Pi, or ESP32 based microcontrollers and so on. So you cannot do that many computations here, right? So TensorFlow Lite is an easygoing implementation model which you can do it, where the real learning happens in cloud, and the inferred model could be transferred to the edge devices. Your mobile phone can also act like an edge device, and the TensorFlow Lite will be able to perform some learning processes. Got it? So the final research thoughts, what I would like to highlight here is, IoT is the base. You can have a lot of product to develop, right? You can easily develop many products. Remote healthcare monitoring is one of the very recent, topics, hot topics, I would say, in IoT domain, because so many products could be visualized or thought about. And in that, how do you apply edge, right? How do you apply edge intelligence? This is one of the good research topic, recent good research topics. And how do you incorporate this serverless execution model to perform, or to combine all these computations put together, right? This is also one of the good research thought process. So you could refer to some of the recent research works that are going on from our IoT Cloud Research Lab of IIIT Kottayam. You are all invited to visit us. And finally, I would like to highlight some announcements. Like, we have 2 incubation centers, MSME Incubation Center as well as Atal Incubation Center, where with the MSME Incubation Center, you could get 15 lakhs per idea, and we can support 10 business ideas per year. So the idea is, researchers should become an entrepreneur, because they stop immediately after the research. It should go far beyond and reach the customers. Okay, it should become like a real product. That's what we are trying to bring through these incubation centers. And Atal Incubation Center is from Niti Aayog, Atal Innovation Mission, where we can support some startups. We have seed funds where we can provide 50 lakhs per good idea. Okay, you can approach me for any kind of support if you need. And of course, all other joint works or something, you are always welcome to do it. All institutions could also apply for this nodal centers, which we are promoting at our incubation centers. And there are always opportunities, job opportunities, and so on that you can take forward. And with this, I would like to conclude my talk for today. I especially thank Chairman, Principal, as well as the organizers, and Dr. Parthasarathi sir, as well as others for inviting and providing this particular forum for discussing thoughts to others. All the best for the researchers. If any questions, you are always welcome. You can also write to me at any time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable information, which will